Welcome to the Art Lady channel. Today I'm going to do a quick demonstration on how to make a bat on a pumpkin. And I also want to incorporate some of this cool swirls in the sky. And I call it the Van Gogh Sky. Just like Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night painting. Let me see, I think I have a picture of Vincent van Gogh right here. He was the artist over 100 years ago who painted this Starry Night painting. And that's the portrait of Vincent van Gogh. It's a self-portrait. That's what Van Gogh looked like. And then this is his famous Starry Night painting. But on our pumpkin, I want these kind of cool swirls and spirals in our background. I think that'll make a gorgeous picture. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to make a quick pumpkin really easy. And I want to get the pumpkin grooves with some different values of color. So we're going to be starting out with a darker value, and then we'll add the lighter values to it. The first step is, I'm going to do this in two sections. The top section is going to be our sky and bat. The bottom half is going to be our pumpkin with value. To begin to make our pumpkin, we're going to fold our paper the long way in half and open up. And the fold that we have just made is going to become the center of our pumpkin. So I'm going to go ahead and find my middle of my page, and I'm going to just add some paint down the middle. And I'm stopping a little bit before the end, at least a finger before the end. Then I fold my paper quickly and give it a little rub. Open it up, and this is now forming the center of our pumpkin. Now, because our pumpkin is going to be the same on both sides, we're going to be creating a symmetrical pumpkin. And symmetrical means same on both sides. I'll show you an example. If I place a line on this side, and I close my page and I rub, it's going to print on the other side. I open it up and it becomes the same shape on both sides. It is called symmetrical. And where both of the shapes meet in the very middle of my page on the fold line, that is called the line of symmetry. So my fold line becomes the line of symmetry. Whatever I paint on this side, after I fold and rub, will print on the second side and become symmetrical. Same on both sides. So that's the technique that we're going to be using to create our symmetrical pumpkin. And you're just going to continue with this line, coming down. I'm going to stop, open up, close, rub, print by rubbing it prints, open back up, and there I have a symmetrical pumpkin, or the beginnings of my symmetrical pumpkin. Now I come down and over to the bottom of the pumpkin, close, rub, and open back up. If my line did not print, I have an option of re-rubbing or adding more paint to that line. Either one. The next step, I'm going to make another groove in my pumpkin. So I'm going to come out, but notice I didn't come from the top of this groove. I kind of went down a little bit, and I'm coming off of the first groove. Come out, I'm adding more paint here, out from the bottom, and then connect. Then I close my pumpkin, rub my paper, and I open up my paper. Then that becomes the side of the pumpkin. Right there, two sides of the pumpkin. And if you'd like, you can even add another groove here to your pumpkin. And then when you close it, it prints on both sides. Right here. Ooh, that's beautiful. So then I'm going to fill in now And now you don't fold it anymore. Just fill in with some lighter value oranges. And because this is still wet, it blends in with the wet red and creates the groove shadows of the pumpkin. Because where the grooves go in, it creates a little shadow and makes the pumpkin a little bit darker. See how my orange color is now mixing with the red and making it red-orange. Now I'm going to do a light value. This is a medium value orange right here on the outer side of my pumpkin. And then I'm going to switch to a lighter value on the inside of my pumpkin. And I'm going to add some yellow, because yellow plus orange is going to make an intermediate color called yellow-orange. Can you say yellow-orange? Yellow-orange. It's yellow plus orange. And I like to keep it so that we can see some of this difference in color here. And so come on up. So we have a little bit of yellow-orange near the center of our pumpkin. Fill it all in, smooth it out. So now I'm using some yellow paint to make that yellow-orange color. And there we have. Now I'm going to come back over with some of this red and just bring back some of my streaks here. Smoothing it out a little bit. Any areas with some orange or red, I'm going to touch up. I touched this up with some orange just to make my edges a little perfect. See how I'm fixing that? Come with your orange if you have any little spaces, and then blend that into the colors. And there I have my pumpkin. And then I'm going to take brown, and if somebody can bring me a brown, whoever's at the brown table, just bring it over to me. We're going to do the stem, and we're going to go number 1 in the center. Now remember, we're not folding our papers anymore. If I continue to fold it, there's too much paint on here, and it's going to just rip the paper when I bring it back and forth. So we only folded the first process. So I'm doing a number 1, and then I'm going to go over, horizontally over. And if you want to add a little curly Q, woo, to your stem, I'm giving it a little bit of thickness here and going right into the pumpkin and flaring out. And there we have, you want to put a little shadow of brown on the bottom, you can. And look how I blend it. It's pretty dry, my brush. I don't have much brown in here. I'm just doing the grooves, putting a little bit of shadow. And the pumpkin's pretty dry now, and so I have a dry brush. And I'm kind of just blending it up and in for the shadow of the pumpkin. So there's our pumpkin. And then the next lesson I'm going to show you is the bat. And then the last thing we'll do is the sky. But I want you to go and do this now. And then we'll do the next part 2 of the lesson. We're going to add a little friend on top of our pumpkin. And then we'll do some wind or spirals in our sky. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and double check to make sure our fold is in the right place, because that's our line of symmetry. And I'm just going to do it on this blue background. And then we're going to take our brush and we're going to dip it in to some black paint. And you should already have a stem painted on. If not, I'm just going to, since I don't have a stem, I'm just going to put a little stump right here. And I'm not going to add a vine to it. There. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little mini line of symmetry above the stem, and that's going to be where my bat's going to be. And I give it a little rub, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a circular shape here. Not too much paint. especially on your edges, because when you fold it to get symmetrical, same on both sides, what could happen is the paint could expand. Anywhere that there's not paint, just give a little touch of paint to it. Then I'm going to do a down and around right to the line of symmetry. Fill that in. And if you're using construction paper, that's the paper I'm using, it tends to absorb the paint quick. I like the effect of that with the rubbings, because it gives a beautiful little texture to the paint, the way you rub it. Okay, so there's my bat head, my bat body. Now assess and work slower. Start small and gradually go big. In case some of the black paint ends up moving out, you don't want them to be too big. So now I assess, my head is bigger than my body, so I want it to be the opposite. So I'm going to make my body a little bit bigger, not by much. Just extend it a little bit. Rub. See, it absorbs really nicely. And this tempera is not watered down. It's straight from the bottle. And when you get a nice shaped body that you like, then you can stop. And I think I like that body. So it's slightly wider than the head. Now, I'm going to print the wings because I want them to be symmetrical. So on one side of my line of symmetry, I'm going to come out and up with my brush, fold, print. Now that gives me the guideline. I'll go back over and fix that in a minute. Then I'm going to dip down straight line down, fold, rub where I did my line, okay? Now it's okay if it's not printed fully. This is just going to give me a guideline, then I can hand paint that in. Now I want to come off of the wing. I'm going to come out and then dip down, rub. I'm drawing the details. Bring it back up so it's pointed. Then I go down, back up again. It's kind of like I'm making, you know, upside down or a W shape. And then end off the wing real pointy. And then I'm going to rub it. And that gives me the guideline for the other side of the wing. Now I'm going to just paint in my bat carefully, and I'm not going to rub anymore. So I'm painting in the wings. I'm going to do this quickly so you don't have to watch me forever. Right in here, give a tiny wing tip with your brush, using just the tip of your brush. I'm going to fix right here. Now before you do the bat, make sure that your pumpkin is dry. Then I'm going to go ahead and paint in this area quickly, just so that it's the same on both sides, symmetrical, same on both sides. And so from the line of symmetry, everything to the left of the line of symmetry matches the other side. And this is a neat artist trick that you can do just by folding your paper and printing wet paint to make something that's the same on both sides. As you saw with the pumpkin, it makes a beautiful pumpkin, same on both sides. And I really like the way the grooves in the pumpkin stay a darker value. Now go ahead and do the ears. I'm just going to print in really tiny little ears. Press my brush and bring it out to the side. Press using the point of my brush and then make it somewhat triangular shape. Now if you need to adjust any shape edges, adjust them with your brush. Because like I said, when you press for printing, sometimes the paint seeps out and makes a little puddle on the edge that you don't want. I'm smoothing everything down, and I'm going to put two little bat legs, 1 and 2. You want to put a little toe sticking out and around, you can. I'm making them a little bit thicker as it reaches the body. There. And there we have our little, oops, I want this to be pointy, our little bat that's sitting on the pumpkin. Now, if you use your imagination, you can put a crow, if you want, sitting on there. A black cat would be cute. But for this lesson, I just did the bat in symmetry. But a crow you could do, and a black cat would be a cute symmetrical. It's almost the same shape as this. Then you could do a fun tail that's not in symmetry. and just do taller ears. Now I'm going to show you some wind, the swirls of wind, just to give the feeling of the Van Gogh Starry Night painting. So I'm going to load up my brush with a dark value. I'm going to come across and I'm going to slowly go up, and then curve down. And now I'm going to make it a circle, just like I would draw a circle, down and around. But then instead of connecting the circle to this line, I'm just going to go in a little bit, and this is helping to form my spiral. And then I'm going to come down, and I'm going to make a mini C, and I'm getting smaller and smaller. That's a spiral or a swirl. Now I'm dipping into some light value blues, because you can trace these lines with all your values. Now I'm mimicking my line by just putting another line next to it with a different value, and I'm leaving a space and then continuing. It's kind of like dotted lines. Going back in as my brush dries out, and I'm mimicking that shape. I can mimic it. I can put the lighter values right on top and right next to it, so that it gives the feeling of that post-impressionist style painting of Van Gogh's Starry Night with those swirls in the sky. And then another blow of wind can come across here. Let me do it a darker value, you can see better. And you can make up how you want your wind to blow. Now it's up to you how many lines you want to put in here. You know, if you want to fill it all up with impressionistic line, or you just want a few and have it just represent sky and clouds and swirls, or you can just put a few lines in. Oops, I hit the black. You gotta be careful, look what I did. So I made a mistake, so look, I'm covering it up just with some blue paint, and I kind of lay it near my mistake and leave it. If I continue to play with it, it's just gonna mess up the black more, and it's gonna mix in and make a gray, and I didn't want that. So you just paint right on top. But I'm gonna continue my spiral over here. Oops, I got too much paint. Continue my spiral and my swirls, and then especially because this is that gorgeous light blue paper, if I dip into some white, the white is gonna show on here nicely. Whoop, I got some black on my brush. If you get black on your brush, wash that brush out, because then it's gonna really contaminate your sky colors. Nope, I got it. Let me get rid of it. There. We must have hit that ear good. So come on out, and then there, going on top, this just gives more of that wind feel with the white. And you can do the white last as you come across. I keep on getting black somewhere. I think it's from my tray over here, I'm not sure. But there's my white coming in, and it blends with the blue and makes it a tint of color. So this is just a tint of blue. White plus blue is a tint of color. And when I add the black to that color, that's making it a shade, that gray. And I don't want it to be a shade up in here. I want it to be just lighter wind, wispy colors coming around. And that's how Van Gogh painted his Starry Night Sky. And we're going to use that swirl as just representing wind coming through. And if you want to make a little bit of wind down in here, you can with your white. Like the wind blowing and a few lines coming around. Just right in here. I'm not going to do any blue here. I'm just going to leave it as just solid wind coming through. The wind blowing. And a few little lines, draw and trace, and you're mimicking this shape as it comes through. And a little bit more, maybe just to give more definition, I'm having it on top of the pumpkin a little bit. And there is my Van Gogh Starry Night windy picture.